Alrighty, so no homework. And this is the famous Dhamma Shatashi Apikores. Okay, I think I even referenced this in the shir that I gave on the last Friday. Okay, so would anyone like to read? And there's terms here that you're not going to be able to translate, and that we're not going to translate, that we'll have to analyze. But I think most of it is good. Who wants to go for it?
I could.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Rabbi Eliezer said, Have Shakud Lomo Torah. There was a liar.
Oh, so that's that would be with the shakar. So shakud is one we're not going to translate because there's logos on how to translate it. Okay. If you were in my Yirmiyahu class, then you might remember some of the translations, but that was like in 9th grade. I think that was in 9th grade. So that's
Oh wait, I was.
Yeah, yeah, but that was Yirmiyahu used it appears in Yirmiyahu's first nevuah that he gets. But yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. Lomo Torah, to learn Torah. Kadesha Teda Ma Tashiv Lapkores, in order to know what is Tashiv, like what is settled.
Yeah. Okay, so this is like She'ela and Teshuvah.
That you know what apikores questions?
Close. So She'ela is the question and Teshuvah is.
Oh right. What to answer on apikores.
Yeah, what to answer. Yeah, answer, respond to an apikores.
Yeah.
And just obviously we're gonna have to like analyze this in the context, but like the word heretic in English means what? The question for anyone.
People who deny a fundamental belief.
Right. So the general definition is going to be people who deny fundamental belief of whatever religion you're talking about. Sometimes apikores is used in a technical sense. For example, like let's say like in the Rambam sometimes uses apikores to mean someone who denies any fundamental belief. Sometimes he uses it specifically for people who deny something that has to do with nevuah. Okay, so like we'll have to get when we analyze it, we'll list that question. Okay, go ahead, Emily.
I'm not on mute. Okay. Vidalafne miyata amal, and know before who you're talking.
Yeah, Amel is a Koheles word that we touched upon at the very beginning of Koheles. Kol amalo she'amal tachas hashamesh. Toil, yeah, nice. And I'm capitalizing the W because obviously this is talking about Hashem, even though it doesn't say it.
Yeah, okay. V'na'aman hu ba'al malachtecha, and believe and believe he is a person of angel. Yes, I forgot. I debated how to translate Baal Malachta. So first of all, Ne'eman is an adjective. We say, for example, Kel Melech Ne'eman. We describe God as Ne'eman. So how do you translate Ne'eman if you're talking about someone? If you say so-and-so is Ne'eman. Believing?
It comes from the shorish of believing. Trustworthy, there you go, right. So he is, and then Baal Malachta, I'm going to translate as employer, someone who like literally means the master of your work, but I think in English the best word is employer. So you should know that your employer is trustworthy. Go ahead.
They will complete for you your
so Shalim can be complete. Shalim can be complete, but there's a couple other translations, and this one's gonna be it's gonna be a different translation than complete. I don't know if you remember from Shirashim or from other contexts.
So pay you.
Yeah, pay you. Good, right? So to pay you, and then sachar is usually reward. But if you're talking about if you're talking about what would be a better word?
Salary.
Yeah, salary, exactly, right? Salary or wages. Yeah, okay, good. So that's the Mishnah. We are going to focus, like we usually do, on just one of the clauses. We're going to focus on Dhamma Shatashi Apikores. Okay, so what are the questions here?
What is, like, know what you should respond, like in what way?
Okay, good. So can you elaborate on what you mean, Leah, when you say?
What are you responding?
Okay, what type of response is this talking about? Okay, actually, I'm going to list our first question, which we kind of already said, which is, what is the definition of apikores in this context? And I'm saying in this context because different contexts have different meanings here. Okay, yeah. What else?
It sounds like in the beginning it's talking about apikores, and then it's talking about like a job.
Yeah. So this one seems to be divided into two, right? So you have the first half, which is about the apikores, and then it sounds like
And
I
then
guess,
also like it seems also about like God. So
yeah. So I would say that even though it's like 3 sentences, I think you're right, Ayala, that let me just make this a different color here. I think you're right that the second half is talking about a mushal about your relationship with Hashem as an employer, right? So the question, I guess, here is, what is the relationship between the two halves of the Mishnah, okay, if they are related at all? Because we know that that's not always related, but yeah. Okay, what else?
How does learning Torah help you respond to a heretic?
Okay, so how does learning Torah help you to respond to a heretic? And then I guess I'm going to add to that a little bit specifically, which is like specifically what kind of Torah learning will help you. For example, I don't think if you are learning kashrus like your idea with Mrs. H. Fader, that's very good for your learning, but I don't think that's going to help you to respond to an apikores. So like it seems like it's talking about specific types of a specific type of learning or specific subject. Yeah. Okay. What else?
Also, we never asked what is shakud.
Good. Yeah, we forgot that, right? So what does shakud mean in this context?
also to pay you the wages of your work. What does that mean?
Yeah. Okay, what does it mean by trustworthy to pay you the wages of your work? And I can't guarantee that we're going to explain that because we're focusing on the first half, but if we do learn that it's related, then maybe we'll answer that.
This is such a side point, but the know before whom you toil, like
Yeah.
Dalef Miyatoma, seems like
Yeah.
the Walmart version of like Dalef Miyatoma.
Walmart version. That's funny. Yeah, I hear. I mean, we might as well add that question, right? Which is, what does it mean by know before whom you toil? And I'm gonna say, and how is this different from the more well-known know before whom you stand? Because it is it is hard to think of this without thinking of the know before whom you stand. I think there's one more question that we can ask about the heretic thing.
Why is it your responsibility to respond to heretic?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so why should we respond to a heretic? Why should we respond to a heretic? Okay, meaning why not just let him be a heretic? Okay, or you can even argue that it might be bad to respond to a heretic. Okay, good. So these are our questions for now. We're going to add more. We actually haven't done all the facts yet. So basic thing to know is that Pirkei Avos is Mishnah, right? It's part of the Mishnah. And where would you go typically for commentary on the Mishnah or explanation of the Mishnah, where's the first place you would go? Gemara, right? So the thing is that there are some Masechtos of Mishnah that don't have any Gemara on them. Okay, so most famously, almost all the Masechtos in Seder Tahara have no Gemara on them, because basically by the time it was the Gemara, then we weren't practicing the laws of Tuma and Tahara anymore. The only Masechta in Tahara that has a Gemara is Nida, because that's still practiced nowadays. Okay, but then other, most Masechtos do have Gemara. Pirkei Avos does not have an actual official Gemara, but there are some times when the Gemara will quote Pirkei Avos and comment on it. Okay, so we have one more set of facts to do, which is in the Gemara Sanhedrin, which quotes Pirkei Avos. So here's what the Gemara Sanhedrin says. Okay, and I'm going to read this one because it's weird. So it says, Tanan Hasam. I should ask, is that a Gemara? One of your terminology things, Tanan or Hasam? Anyone know what either of those means?
Hasam is there, right?
Yeah, Hasam is there. Good. So Tanan is
taught in.
Yeah, it was taught in. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, and so I couldn't actually remember this. Is I know it's a Mishnah in this context, but I think you're right. Is that it is a Brisa or a Mishnah? Okay, so here it's a Mishnah. So it's taught in a Mishnah. It was taught there in a Mishnah. And by the way, what does it mean when the Gemara says there? Like, what's the difference between here and there when the Gemara says it? I think you might have learned this with me.
Here is our Mishnah.
Yeah, here is our Mishnah. There is some other Mishnah. Good. Okay, so it says Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Havishaku lil motora v'dam mashatashi apikores. Now you'll notice, by the way, this is different than our version. Okay, our version, I was using the Rambam's version for ours. Can you spot the difference between ours and the version I was quoting now? I can go back. Here's ours. Havishaku lil motora kadesha teda mashatashi. Yeah.
The word today.
The word today, right? So ours is one statement. Bishaku, to learn Torah in order to know how to respond to an apikores. And then the version that the Gemara quotes, or that our Gemara quotes, is Bishaku, to learn Torah. That's statement one. Statement two is vida mashatashi apikores. Okay, so practically speaking, I think the fact that it's quoting it means that it's still together, but some people learn that as two separate statements. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Lo shanu ella apikores nachri. You guys know what a nachri is?
Stranger.
So literally means stranger, but then in halacha books, it means halacha context means something else. Okay, you'll guess it from context. So it says this was only taught in reference to an apikores nachri. About apikores Yisrael. So what can you get? Non-Jew, right? So this was only taught in reference to a non-Jewish heretic. About apikores Yisrael, but a Jewish heretic, kol shakin de pakar tfe. Certainly he will become even more heretical. So in your own words, what a very important fact is the Gemara adding to our interpretation of Pirkei Avos, or to our understanding of Pirkei Avos, I mean?
This isn't for responding to Jewish heretics.
This is exactly. Okay, this is not responding to Jew. This is not for responding to Jewish heretics. So we're going to add that here to our questions. Okay, so according to the Gemara, why should we only respond to a non-Jewish heretic? In other words, what does it mean when it says that a Jewish heretic that responding to a Jewish heretic will only make him more heretical? And then the last thing I want to ask here, which is not a natural question, but it's a question that I think comes from you could say this is part of the first question, which is practically, how do we implement this today? Okay, because the heretics in the time of the Gemara were not necessarily the same types of things as like the average heretics that we have today. So technically, this is part of the definition. This is part of question number 1, but I felt like it was good to add this. And then there's one more question also, which we've been asking on every mission in Pirkei Avos.
Is this for the average person? Or?
Yeah. Who is the audience of this Mishnah? Everyone or Hasidim? Hasidim. Yeah. Okay. All right. So those are our questions, and as we usually do, let's try to answer them on our own before we go on. So let's regarding question number 1, let's just assume this means someone who denies any fundamental Judaism, because that's the simplest definition. Okay. But anyone want to try answering any of the other questions? Take some moments to think.
Can I say a funny story that has to do with the word apikores?
Sure.
From Bisiaco?
Yeah.
When I was in elementary school, we had earth science class, and one class she handed out these source sheets where she wrote the notes, like the syllabus and the notes, and all of the words and like their definitions. So one of the words that she wrote on the sheet was apikores, and then the definition was like the evolution of man into monkeys or whatever. And
Wow.
I went into the test thinking, like I was studying with my friend, and we were like practicing all the different things, and then she asked me what the term was for that, and I said apikores instead of evolution because I didn't understand.
That's a really funny story that I'm sure I'm going to repeat. That's really funny.
Just thought I'd share.
Yeah, that's right. I'm guessing that this is a from teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's very, very funny. Yeah, but that's just that's an illustration of how, like, when we ask question number 1, we really do need to know what the definition is in this context, because like let's say, for example, like when I feel like when you guys say that an apikores is someone who denies one of the fundamentals, what do you mean when you say fundamentals? Like, what do you think of when you say fundamentals?
Like the 13 principles.
The 13 ikarim, right? Exactly. So I think that's like a standard definition. But then clearly from Leah's story, there are people who expand, like evolution doesn't deny any of the 13 ikarim, or at least you'd have to make a very, very like expanded definition of ikar, like to, I don't know, like my guess is, what do you think makes this teacher think that it's apikores? Like, if you had to guess, the evolution is apikores.
She's like taking Bereshis really literally.
Yeah, right. So it sounds like her premise is that Bereshis is literal, and Bereshis doesn't mention apikores, and therefore, if you believe in evolution, Bereshis doesn't mention. You got me saying it now. Bereshis doesn't mention evolution, and therefore, in her mind, if you believe in evolution, and the Torah doesn't say evolution, then you're denying Torah min hashamayim. So that's like a very expanded definition of denying Torah min hashamayim, But there are other people, I think I mentioned this before, is that there are other systems of ikarim. For example, Ramam has 13 ikarim, Rav Chasdai Kreskas has 26 ikarim, the Sefer HaIkarim has 3 ikarim with roots. I think Rav Hirsch says everything is an ikar, okay, which sounds really nice, but it's practically like, does that mean like if you disagree with his interpretation of a particular pasuk in Chumash, then you're denying an ikar? I don't think he would believe that, So like, it's very important for us to know what is the definition of apikores, what do Chazal mean, and then also for us, like in question number 10, like, who do we respond to anyone who disagrees with our definition of Torah? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So so anyway, so for our purposes, let's assume that apikores means someone who denies one of the 13 ikarim, and then we'll modify that if the meforshim prompt us to. All right. So what do you say for any of these here? And I'll help you out, by the way. For number 5, anyone know the standard definition of shakud or shoked? There's like a standard translation.
So like almond.
Yes, so it's the same word as almond. So if you take the almond definition, and maybe that rings a bell for those who are in my Yirmiyahu class. Anyone remember what makes an almond unique in terms of a tree? And to just quote the context of Yirmiyahu, Hashem says to Yirmiyahu that, like he shows him an almond branch, and then he says, Hashem uses a pun and says, I am shakud on my word to fulfill it. So what makes an almond tree different?
Does it last for a bunch of years?
Say again?
Does it like last for a bunch of years?
Good guess, no, but it does have to do with time though. So I'm gonna actually type this out here. So in Yirmiyahu, the meaning of shakud was quick. Okay, almonds blossom very quickly. All right, I think it was 21 days is the amount of time it takes. So quick is one definition. The other definition is diligent. Okay, which means like dedicated, and another meaning is motivated. Okay, so those are just 3 standard translations of shakud. Well, just what do you think? I mean, I think this is an easy one to think about in the sense that, like, imagine, we've all been in situations like this where we're, I think, either in real life or online, like on social media, someone makes a comment that is apikores, and this mission is saying you should be diligent to learn what to respond. So why would you think it's important to respond to the apikores?
I think for yourself.
Okay.
More
Yeah,
than
why?
for them. Because when you know something, when you're able to, I guess, like debate against a point that contradicts your beliefs, you know them stronger, and it makes you stronger.
Okay, good. So this is answering. So what number is this? We're answering question number 8, right? So one possible answer is that this is for yourself, and what Leah is saying basically is like it's not enough to just know what is true, but if you can't defend the truth or support the truth or argue for the truth, or if you can't refute opposite views, so then that indicates like a lack or a weakness in your own belief, so one answer is that it's for you, not for the apikores. Okay, what would be another answer? And I think that's I think that's the most likely answer.
I have another approach for you, but like kind
Sure.
of the other end of it. Not even
Yeah.
it's good for you, like an extra step. It's harmful if you don't. Because
Okay,
if you don't
good.
have an answer to why it's not true, like it's gonna be in the back of your head and you might kind of believe it. Or
Okay,
it might,
good. Good. So this is I actually heard of I heard this in the name of Rav Hirsch. Okay, but I haven't seen it with my own eyes. Okay, so don't quote me on it. So Rav Hirsch was in the 1800s. Okay, and one of the things that was being developed at the time was vaccines. Okay, was inoculation, and he used that muscle. How does obviously the COVID vaccines are different, but how does traditional like vaccination work in a very basic like layman terms, or inoculation?
It like puts the virus in you so that you develop you build antibodies against it.
Exactly, right. So you get a small exposure to the virus, which is not enough to have the full effects, and then your body develops antibodies, and then that helps you to defend it more. So Rav Hirsch said that you should expose yourself to small doses of apikores and then build antibodies so that when you become exposed to the real thing, then it doesn't affect you. And what I think Elisheva is saying basically is like, I mean, it's not exactly what Elisheva is saying, but it's the same muscle, is like, if you get exposure to this apikores and you don't address it, or you don't do it in a controlled way, it can remain there and then cause problems later on and fester, so like instead of like risking being like instead of like hearing these questions or problems and then just not addressing them and letting them develop into the full-blown forms of the disease, you should purposefully inoculate yourself against the disease in a way that you can like build defenses against it and address it. So yeah, so just to compare what Leah said, what Elisheva said, it's both beneficial for you to know how to respond to apikores in order to strengthen your belief and understand it more clearly, and also to prevent the harm of having, or the threat of having these false beliefs. Okay, good. So who else could it be for if it's not for yourself? I think there's two possibilities there.
Maybe also for society as a whole. Like
Okay,
if you
good.
let a heretic like just roam free in society with these like damaging ideas.
Okay, good. So second answer is that this is not for you, but it's for society, which is that if heretical ideas are allowed to be voiced in public and no one is responding to them, so then that can create problems for people, and either make them think that there are no answers, or that like, or just like believe in the views themselves. So that's another good answer. And then the third possibility is,
I feel like you could split society into two, though. Like you could have the Jewish society and the non-Jewish society.
Okay, good. So that really gets to the Gemara here. So we'll get to that in 1 second. I just want to go, before we make that distinction, the third possibility would be for the heretic himself, right? That you're responding not for your own sake, not for society's sake, but you want to actually, like, well, what would be the purpose in responding to the heretic himself? I could see two purposes there. What would be the benefit in responding to the heretic for themselves?
To like root out any false beliefs that he has for him. Like you're really helping him.
Right. So one version of it is you're helping him in the sense of helping him realize his error. Okay. But I think there's there's a second reason why you might want to respond to him even when it's not going to help him. What might that be? Like, let's say you cannot convince him that he is wrong. So what might another reason to respond to him be?
Maybe to tell him like that you're not going to accept him talking that way, because he probably thinks like, I could say this stuff in the community, it's going to influence people and they're going to start believing me. So by like shutting him down and like refuting him and saying, we don't accept this. Like you could believe whatever you want, but it's not going to be accepted here and you're not allowed to talk about it here.
Okay, good. Right. So the other one is basically to make him know, basically as an act of resistance to what he's saying, for societal purposes, like Elisha was saying, like to make it clear that this is not something that is a tolerated view, or to make it clear that I might not be able to convince you, Mr. Heretic, but I am not accepting your answer, and I have, this is why I disagree with you. And again, not because you think that it's going to change his mind, but because you want to make it clear that he's not affecting you. That you have a basis for your understanding. Okay. So now that we've said three possibilities, right? So either the response to the heretic is for yourself, for society, or for the heretic themselves. So now let's apply point number 9. Okay. Does the Gemara's distinction between Jewish and non-Jewish, does that point us in any direction about those three possibilities? Like to you, does that indicate one way or the other? Or the other? I think it rules out one possibility.
Which one?
Yeah, I'm asking you that.
Wait, how many possibilities were there? 4?
So we had, actually, let me just write this out. That might be good, actually, so to help us review it for tomorrow. So hold on just a second. So let's see, question 8. Okay, why, right? Why respond? Okay, so we said that there are, let's go like this. One possibility is for yourself. One possibility is for society. Third possibility is for the heretic. And then under it for yourself, we had 2 possibilities, which is to strengthen your own belief. And second one is to prevent the harm of internalizing the heresy. Okay, and then for society, we had, hold on just 1 second here. For society, we had to make it, what do you call it? To prevent heretical beliefs from being expressed in public. And then for the heretic, we also had two possibilities, which is possibility A, to help him by changing his mind, and B is to demonstrate resistance, i.e., to show that his beliefs are not accepted, and that even though we can't change his mind, we have reasons for rejecting his views. Yeah, okay, so of these three-ish possibilities, once we see that there's a distinction between a Jewish heretic and a non-Jewish heretic, then I think that rules out. Ooh, I did not mean to do that. Hold on. 28. Yeah, so I think that rules out one possibility.
Maybe 3.
3, why?
Because you don't really care about changing the non-Jews' mind. You just want them to get away.
Oh, so but remember, the Gemara says the opposite, right? The Gemara says that you should respond to the non-Jew, but you should not respond to the Jew, because the Jew is going to become more heretical.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, right? In fact, the first time I read the Gemara, I thought that I was misreading it, because like we automatically think, oh yeah, obviously we should help a Jewish apikores, but we don't really prioritize the non-Jewish one. But it's really the opposite. So I think that the Gemara is really ruling out this possibility. Why?
I disagree, because I think that even if it is a Jewish heretic,
Yeah.
It's like even more so for yourself. But obviously for a non-Jew, I think it's for yourself to strengthen your own beliefs.
So let me give my reason for thinking that this is the case, and then I want you to try to respond to my reasoning, which is, if the purpose of knowing what to respond to the apikores is for your own self and strengthen your own beliefs, then it shouldn't matter who you're responding to, right? For example, let's say you have a Christian who denies, let's say a Christian who denies Mashiach because they hold that Jesus already came, right? And you have a Jew who denies Mashiach. So if the point in knowing how to respond is for my own sake, so then it doesn't really matter who said it. I should still learn the correct beliefs on my own. You see what I'm saying, Leah?
Okay, now I agree with you.
Yeah. So I think it's going to either be for society or for the heretic themselves. But let's see if we can infer from the Gemara's reasoning. So the Gemara says that the reason why you should not respond to the Jew is it's only going to make him more heretical. Okay, so what would you say in light of that? Like, can you make an argument for 2 or 3 based on that reasoning?
Then I think it would be 3 and not 2, because 3, a person who's non-Jewish, I think it will help them change their mind more than make them more heretic. Okay, good. And for 2, it's not making them, it's not like, it's not a thing in society. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, never mind. Okay, so let me state what you said for number 3 is, if the goal is to help them, then the Gemara might mean that since a Jew is going to become even more heretical, then you're not really helping him by responding, and therefore you should avoid it, you know. And that's the thing, like in general, like with helping people, like if you should try to help, but if your attempt to help is going to make things worse, then obviously you should not try to help. But I think you could also say
he's going to become more heretical is an argument for number 2. Anyone see how?
Because if it was a Jewish person, maybe
Yeah.
it would just increase the heretical beliefs because they're going to become more heretic in society and like
Yes.
help other people. But if it's a non-Jew, it might actually help and benefit society.
Okay, good. Right. So if Jews will become more heretical, which I realize we haven't explained yet, right? Obviously, we need to understand like how that's the case. Let's just take the premise. If responding to the Jew will only make him more heretical, and if we're worried about society, so then you're creating more of a problem in society by responding to the Jew. But if the non-Jew is not going to make things worse in society, then there's no harm there. And it might be he doesn't make things worse because of his own qualities, but it might just be he's not in the same society. Like, imagine, for example, and this is a bad example, but like, I'm sure you all knew like kids who are in or have heard of kids in school who are like rebellious in terms of like their Judaism, you know. So if sometimes with those kids, then if the teacher tries to respond, it just makes the kid more vocal, and that could be bad for the class, you know. Whereas if the teacher didn't respond, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think teachers should respond, you know, but they should do it intelligently. But I'm just using it as an example of like sometimes when you respond, it like eggs them on, and then they create even more of a loud voice, you know. So that's another reason. Okay, so let's actually. I know we're not we're still 2 minutes from the. Oh, let me understand what I'm saying here. Is there another question we can answer here? So we've right now addressed, hold on here, we've addressed this in terms of assuming it's the Yugimel Yikarim for now. We have addressed this as our main question. And yeah, hold on. Okay, I think that's all we've addressed right now. Oh, let's just say this then. Okay, how do you answer this question? Who's the audience of this Mishnah based on what we've said so far? Everyone or only Hasidim? Or is it one of those sliding scale things like we've seen before?
I think everyone.
Okay, why?
Because of the 2 answers that we still have left for why you're doing it. One is for society, one is for the heretic, and they're kind of like mundane people, so they're everyone, not Hasidim.
Okay, so that's true that the apikores might be everyone, but the question here is who should do the like responding?
No, I was saying if it's for the society, that includes everyone. So everyone should respond.
Okay, so you can make that argument. You could say that because it's for the society, then this is really everyone's responsibility. I hear that. What argument can you make against saying it's for everyone?
Because if someone doesn't know how to answer, or they're going to say something wrong, then they shouldn't answer.
Yeah, exactly. Is that I don't know if everyone is really capable of addressing all the heretics, you know? So like, it might even be dangerous for you to try to respond if you're not qualified, you know? So my guess for now, at least based on what we said so far, is this seems like a sliding scale, is that if you're capable of responding, you should respond, but if not, then maybe not. Or maybe you can make the argument that if this is for society, then it should be the leader's responsibility to respond. All right, let's stop here for today, and then tomorrow we can start the meforshim and see what they say, okay? Hopefully by the next time I talk to you, I will be in your time zone, and we'll see though, okay? All right, have a good day, everyone.
You too.
Thank you, you too.